If you're feeling really uncomfortable when you're sitting at the harp, then the experience of being at the harp is not going to be an enjoyable one. It's all very well getting a stool that's the perfect height and has this back and is ergonomic in this way and got all these fancy things, but if it's very hard and it's making your bum sore, it's not the right stool for you, okay? It's important that it works for you. That's the most important thing, is that it works for you. This question was specifically about harp stools or harp chairs with backs, with a back prop. So whether it was a good or a bad thing to use a chair which has a back to play the harp. And it's a great question because, like I said, we don't really talk, or I don't think we've ever specifically spoken about whether you should or should not have a back to your chair. So the first thing that I want to say about this is that the most important thing about your chair that you use to play the harp, your chair or your stool, right, whatever you're using, whatever you want to call it, the most important thing is the height of the chair and your comfort. Okay, because if you're feeling really uncomfortable when you're sitting at the harp, then the experience of being at the harp is not going to be an enjoyable one. So it's all very well getting a stool that's the perfect height and has this back and is ergonomic in this way and got all these fancy things, but if it's very hard and it's making your bum sore, it's not the right stool for you, okay? And I say that from experience, because when you sit on the chair or the stool for a while, even though I have plenty of padding, my bum can get sore and it's not comfortable. So make sure that you find a chair or a stool that is comfortable for you to actually sit on and that is the right height. Now, just to reiterate a little bit about height, it's really ideal if your hips are either in line with or slightly higher than your knees. In other words, if this is my back, which would never be this straight, but let's imagine it's a little bit curved. If this is my back and my hips come out from here, right? So this is my legs coming out from my back and my knuckles here are my knees. What you absolutely don't want is this. So you really don't want your knees higher than your hips if you can possibly avoid it. What happens when your knees are higher than your hips is you tend to roll back on your bum and curve your lower back. So you end up generally sitting like this. And what you actually want is to sit up nice and straight with a gentle curve in your back, which I can't do with my hand, but I'll show you in a moment. Knees in line with the hips or slightly lower. So if I know you can't see my knees and my hips, but if I sit like this with my knees in line with my hips, okay, you can see that my back is nice and straight. It's a gentle curve in it. If my knees were lower than my hips, I would have the tendency to roll backwards and sit like this. Okay, if I turn a little bit more. That's what tends to happen when you're in a seat that's too low. Okay, and it's so easy for us as harpists to do that anyway, right, around our harp. It's so easy to hunch like that around your harp. Sitting in a chair that's too low just makes it worse. So let's not do that. Backs on chairs. There's nothing wrong with having a back on your chair. There's nothing wrong with having no back on your chair. So maybe that's like kind of an unsatisfactory answer to like whether you should sit on a chair with or without a back. I personally sit on a stool. It's a piano stool. I love this piano. It's actually a pretty new purchase for me, this one. I'm gonna actually, do you know what? I'm gonna show you it. I got it maybe in like October or November last year. Okay, so the reason I love this chair so much is because there's a little handle here. There's actually more than one reason. One of the reasons I love is the little handle is like, I think you'd call it hydraulic, which I know is super fancy and completely unnecessary and over the top for a chair. But I have to change the height of my chair depending on whether I'm on my pedal harp or my lever harp. And when I had a rolly chair, one, it took me ages to change it. How's it going down? That's nice. It took me ages to change it. Two, the like wheels, I guess, were becoming loose, and so every time I sat on the chair it started to creak and squeak, and so when I was filming that was frustrating. None of this is important, I know, if you're not filming, but it was frustrating for me. And it was getting harder and harder for me to move it up and down, and harder for me to get it in just the right position for my pedal harp and my lever harp. And so I love this chair. Plus, it's got a super cushy top, so my bum doesn't get sore. It's nice and cushioned. Lovely. And sturdy. There's a great stool that Dusty Strings make. It comes, you can have it with a back and you can have it without. It is so comfortable. So comfortable. It's like a kind of like a drum chair. And it's like squishy. And it's really comfortable. I tried it when I was in America on tour. And I was like, I like this a lot. And I can't remember why I didn't get one, but I didn't get one. But this one works really well for me because of the fact I need to change my height all the time. So anyway, back to the original question, which was about backs. The thing about a back is, if you sit on a chair that has a back and you tend to slouch into the back of the chair, then I would say you shouldn't use a chair with a back. It's less about whether you should have a back or not have a back on a chair, and more about how does that help or hinder your seating position. So some of you might find that the back is needed to give you an appropriate amount of support to sit in a nice, happy, comfortable position, and it doesn't cause you to begin to slouch. I find that if I have a back on my chair, I have a tendency to relax a little bit too much into the back. And it encourages me to slouch into the back of the chair. So for me, having the back at this point of time in my life doesn't work because it causes me to slouch into it. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a back. And having just gone through a life-changing health event, I could see me in the future, or anyone in the future, circumstances changing and finding that actually that little bit of support encourages good posture rather than discouraging it. So the setup that you have now might not be the setup that lasts you forever and ever and ever. What I'm saying is, you have to assess your own body, your own situation, your own comfort, and take it from there. And ask yourself, is having the back helping me, or is it encouraging me to slouch? Is it helping me to sit in a good position, or is it encouraging me to kind of be a bit lazy with my positioning? I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who can actually really resonate with what I'm saying. And an important point that I want to finish with on this one. So first of all, though, I started with, remember, the height is important and your comfort's important. Okay, those are the two most important things. But there's plenty of harpists who I know who, because of various different reasons in their lives, have ended up sitting in a chair which is far from ideal. And they can still play the harp and enjoy it. Okay, so there may come a time in your life where you have to sit in I don't know, a computer chair. A computer chair is one of the worst chairs that you can sit in because it's not stable. It's got wheels and it's rolly, so it rolls about, and it also swivels. So you tend to find that actually people who are sitting in computer chairs when they play are moving a lot. Maybe there'll be a point of time in your life where you have to be more mobile. You know, I can't think of a reason why that would be, but I'm not a medical professional. Maybe there'd be a time in your life where it's important to keep your hips and your back moving a lot, and sitting in a static chair becomes very uncomfortable and it's just not working for you. It's important that it works for you. That's the most important thing, is that it works for you. Maybe there'll come a time where you have to sit in a chair that's much more supportive, that has arms. You know, it's not ideal to sit in a chair that has arms because it tends to be restrictive. But maybe there's going to come a point in your life where you have to sit in a chair that has arms. It doesn't mean you can't play the harp. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy the harp. Now, I know most of you are coming with questions to say, what is the optimal setup? And the optimal setup is the correct height, comfortable, and appropriate to your own body. Okay? So hopefully that helps.